In September of 2021, Ashanti went on national television and told the country she had her masters. 10 months later, the recordings from her debut album were sold. Nothing from that sale reached her. Universal Music Group had valued that half at $1 million. The man who sold it said he got $100 million. She was telling the truth that day. It still did not get her the records. We traced what she actually owned through the credits: a federal indictment, a jury verdict against her, and a ruling handed down this January. Part 1. Her debut album came out on April 2, 2002, on Murder Inc. Records through Island Def Jam. It sold 503,000 copies in its first week in the United States. That number is in the Guinness World Records book. Best-selling debut album in the United States in 1 week by a female artist. In that same week, she became the first woman to hold the top 2 positions on the Billboard Hot 100 at the same time, with Foolish at number 1 and What's Love at number 2. She was 21 years old. Now watch what happens to that number over the next 3 years. The second album, Chapter 2, opened at 326,000 in the summer of 2003. The third, Concrete Rose, opened at 254,000 in December of 2004, half the debut, in 32 months. Something was eating the machine underneath her, and it was not her singing. In January of 2005, federal prosecutors in Brooklyn walked into a courthouse and charged the 2 men who ran her label. We will get to that indictment, because the dollar figure in it is very specific and almost nobody quotes it. But the collapse of Revert Inc. is not what this video is about. This video is about a much quieter question, and she answered it herself on live radio, without meaning to. Part 2. On September 28, 2021, Ashanti sat down on the Tamron Hall show and made an announcement. She was going to re-record her debut album. She talked about her legal team. She talked about signing her first record deal at 14 years old and how much the business had changed since then. The headlines that followed all said the same thing. She got her masters back. Then Irv Gotti, the producer who ran Murder Inc. and built that album with her, went into a comment section on Angie Martinez's Instagram page and said the opposite. He owned the masters. He owned a good portion of the publishing. He said she was trying to take his masters from him using the cover laws. So on December 10th, 2021, she went on The Breakfast Club and DJ Envy asked her directly, "Does Irv own your masters?" She said no, and then she took it back inside the same breath. What she can say, she told him, is that this is a conversation for Universal. Listen to that answer again, because it is the most honest sentence anybody said in this entire story. She was not dodging. She was telling him she did not have standing to answer the question, because the paper did not run through her. Then she explained the actual mechanism, and every headline skipped it. After 20 years, she said, an artist gets the right to re-record their music, and not necessarily to own their masters. She said it on the radio in 2021. It is the whole video. Part 3. We went through the split between the composition and the master recording on this channel a few weeks ago, on the Lil Kim video. We are not doing that again. This is a different mechanism, and it is the one almost nobody can explain. A re-recording right is not ownership. It is permission with a clock on it. When an artist signs a recording contract, there is usually a clause that stops her from recording those same songs again for somebody else. The label paid for the studio. The label owns the tape. The clause exists so she cannot walk down the street the following week, cut the identical album for a competitor, and split her own audience in half. That clause expires. Often it runs a set number of years from release, or from the end of the contract term, whichever comes later. When it expires, nothing is returned to her. The old recordings stay exactly where they are, in the same vault, under the same copyright line. What she gets is the right to walk into a studio and make new recordings of songs she already wrote. Taylor Swift is the reason everybody knows this exists. She could not buy her old recordings, so she made new ones and asked the world to stream those instead. It worked because she released them. 6 albums, on schedule, with the machine of a global label behind the rollout. That is the route Ashanti announced in 2021. Hold that thought, because the clock on it matters more than anything else in this story. Part 4. Now, who actually held the paper on those 2002 recordings? In June of 2022, Gotti gave an interview to Billboard and spoke to a camera crew at the BET Awards, and he laid the ownership structure out in one sentence. He owned half his masters. Universal Music Group owned the other half, 50-50. His words, on the record. Take a second with that, because it disposes of the argument that ran in the comment sections for 4 years. Ashanti said she was not the one to ask. Gotti said he only owned half. Both of those statements are the same statement. Neither of them controlled the recordings alone, and she was not on either side of the split. Her name is on the songs. Her voice is the asset. She is not in the ownership line at all. And this is the part where people reach for a villain, so we should be careful. Gotti did not steal anything. He explained his own logic to Angie Martinez, and it is worth hearing, because it is how the whole business is built. He said he never put his artists on 360 deals. He never took a piece of their show money. Ja Rule made millions touring. Ashanti made millions touring, and he told her he did not see a dime of it. So where did his money come from? The masters. That was the trade. He left the road money alone and kept the recordings, and the recordings are the thing that keeps paying after the touring stops. But she has told a different version of how it ended, and it belongs here next to his. Speaking to Angie Martinez, Ashanti said that when she was in conversations about moving to Dr. Dre, she took it to Gotti, and he told her he wanted 90% of anything she made for the rest of her life. That is her account. He never confirmed it, and no contract has surfaced showing it, so it sits in this video as her word, and nothing more. His account and her account cannot both be complete. What neither of them disputes is the ownership line, and that is the only part with paper behind it. There was no theft here. There was a 21-year-old signing a document that somebody else had read more carefully than she had. Part 5. On January 26, 2005, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York announced an indictment against Irving Lorenzo and his brother Christopher. The charge was laundering more than $1 million in drug proceeds through Murder Inc. for a man named Kenneth McGriff. The Justice Department press release is still online, and it contains a figure most coverage leaves out. The indictment alleged that Irving Lorenzo issued checks totaling approximately $281,000 from his own bank account and from the account of MI Records Incorporated to various entities for McGriff's benefit. $281,000. That is the number the government put in writing. McGriff was not an entertainment executive. Prosecutors described him as one of the most dangerous drug figures in New York City, and their theory was that his cash went into the label and came back out as clean money through a straight-to-video film company. The Lorenzos said they had known him since Queens, that investing in a friend's movie is not a crime, and that they were being tried for who they grew up around. On December 2, 2005, a federal jury acquitted both brothers on every count in the indictment. Ashanti was never charged with anything. She was in the courtroom as a supporter, sitting near Jay-Z and Russell Simmons and Fat Joe while the verdict came in. But look at what the case did to the business around her while it was running. Def Jam moved on from the label. The imprint changed its name to The Ink, and the album that came out in the middle of all of it, Concrete Rose, opened at half the number her debut did. She had nothing to be acquitted of. She paid for the case anyway, in units. And 8 months before that verdict came in, she had already lost a different case. Her own. Part 6. In 1996, when Ashanti was 16 years old, she signed a contract with a producer named Jennard Parker. He worked with her out of a home studio in the Bronx. She testified later that the setup was so basic, she sang in the bathroom. She got signed elsewhere. Parker released her from the deal on the understanding that he would produce 2 songs on her first album. He never got them. On July 21, 2005, a federal jury in Manhattan found that she had breached that contract and awarded him $630,000. He had asked for $2.2 million. Then United States District Judge Jed Rakoff looked at the award and struck all but $50,000 of it, on the finding that the jurors did not have adequate facts to calculate damages and had been left to speculate. The two sides went back for a second trial in September of 2006 and dropped all of it on the second day. Terms were never disclosed. Here is why that case belongs in a video about masters. The contract that put a federal jury on her back was signed when she was 16, before there was a hit, before there was a lawyer worth the name, over 2 songs and a $50,000 advance. 6 years later, she signed the one that decided who owned Foolish. We pull the filings on a different artist every week. Subscribe, and you will not miss the next one. Part 7. Now the sale. By that July, Gotti was telling Billboard that when his deal with Universal was winding down, the company made him an offer for his half of the masters. $1 million. He said he refused. He said they told him the valuation was based on CD sales. 3 years later, he sold that same 50% stake to a rights company called Iconoclast, run by Olivier Chastain. Standing in front of a camera at the BET Awards, he described the package as a $300 million deal, with $100 million of it for the masters and $200 million as funding for film and television projects. We have to be precise here, and precise is not the same as skeptical. Music Business Worldwide reported the transaction and its structure. The $300 million, the $100 million, and the $200 million figures come from Gotti. Iconoclast has never confirmed any figure publicly. There is no filing anybody can pull up. So the honest version is this. Universal put a price of $1 million on that half. Whatever the sale price actually was, an outside buyer paid enough for the seller to walk away, calling it $100 million. Between those two numbers sits the most valuable thing in the catalog, which is a voice that appears in neither of them. Ashanti did not receive a share of that sale. She did not have to be cheated for that to be true. She simply was not a party to it, and she never had been. And this is not a Murder Inc. story anymore. Catalog buying became one of the biggest trades in music over the last 5 years. Firms raised funds specifically to buy old recordings, because a song that has been streaming steadily for 20 years is a predictable income stream, and predictable income streams are what money likes. Every one of those transactions turns on the same question this video is asking, which is whose name sits on the copyright line. Irv Gotti died on February 5, 2025, at 54, of complications following a stroke. The masters he sold are still generating money somewhere in the system. Part 8, which brings us back to the album she promised in 2021. On July 13, 2022, she went on Good Morning America and told Robin Roberts it would be out before the end of that year. It was not. In October of 2024, she told Pop Culture that she was done. Just about done, she said. A few final touches. It is now July of 2026. Pull up any streaming service tonight and search for it. There is no re-recorded version of that album anywhere. What you will find is a 2023 vinyl pressing of the original, the 2002 Master, the one she does not own, sold through a universal reissue imprint. That is 4 public commitments across 5 years, and the catalog still shows nothing. We could not find a single interview where she explains why, and we looked. There is a story in the forums that Gotti blocked the release through a legal loophole and that he had to sign off on it. We could not find one document, one filing, one named source behind that claim, so we are not putting it in your head as a fact. It might be true. Nobody has shown it. What we can say is what the record shows. The route she chose out of this, the Taylor Swift route, requires you to actually finish and ship the thing. The right lands in your hands on schedule, and then it just sits there, and an unused right leaves the old contract running exactly as written. Part 9. So the obvious question: if the re-recording never happened, can she just take the originals back? This is where almost every comment section on this subject gets it wrong, and there is now a federal ruling that settles it. Under Section 203 of the United States Copyright Act, an author can terminate a transfer of copyright after 35 years and take the rights back. That clause is real. It is why people in the comments keep saying the masters revert to the artist eventually. In 2024, Salt-N-Pepa filed exactly that claim against Universal Music Group over their catalog. On January 8th of this year, United States District Judge Denise Cote dismissed the case. Her reasoning was one line, and it applies to a lot more artists than 2. The statute is clear. Plaintiffs can only terminate copyright transfers that they executed. Read it again, slowly. To take something back under Section 203, you have to have handed it over yourself in the first place. If the recordings were owned by a label or a production company from the moment they were made, there was never a transfer from you. There is nothing to terminate. The door everybody assumes is standing open was never cut into the wall in the first place. They filed an appeal on February 4th. It is pending. And understand what that reasoning does to the standard record deal from the 1990s and 2000s. In a lot of those contracts, the recordings were treated as works made for hire, or the deal ran through a production company rather than through the artist personally. In either case, the label held the copyright from the moment the tape rolled. The artist never owned it, so the artist never transferred it. 35 years later, there is no transfer sitting there to cancel. The termination right is real, and for a large number of the artists counting on it, it points at nothing. And that is the arithmetic sitting under Ashanti's 2002 contract right now. Part 10. So here is what she has, and it is not nothing. She has the writer's share. Her name is on the songs, and the composition pays her every time one of them moves. She has a label of her own that she started years ago, and every recording she has made under it, she owns outright. She had a #1 album, a Grammy, and a line in the Guinness World Records book that has stood for 24 years. What she does not have is the recording of Foolish, not a percentage of it, not a vote on where it goes. And the recording is the part that keeps working after everything else stops. It earns while she sleeps. A bank will lend against it. It got sold for a number somebody described as $100 million, in a room she was not in. She told a national television audience in 2021 that she had the thing that would fix it. She was telling the truth. She had the right to go back into a studio and cut those songs again, and once she released them, they would have been hers. 5 years later, that studio session is still the most valuable asset she has never delivered. If you want the one where the artist wrote every word, owned the publishing, and still lost the house, it is the Lil' Kim breakdown, and it is on the channel now.